am your host, Brother Dan Goodwin. And this is, what is today? This is Thursday. This is March the 28th. I had to look. March the 28th, 2024. And we are still here. The rapture has not happened. The trumpet has not sounded, but though I'm sure that trumpet is out of the case. Gabriel's probably got it in his hand right now. And we are getting out of here soon and very soon. I don't think people realize how rapidly this whole thing is coming together. And so, welcome to everybody. It is 9:46, right? Eastern time, 8:46 Central time. We're going to try to be done in 10 or 12 minutes here, unless you guys get me going. But hopefully that won't happen. But all right, we got a good crowd getting on here. And hopefully it's not buffering tonight. We had a problem last time we were on, and I apologize. Last week, both nights just did not work, and we didn't get on it. But I do have some news. We are headed out here in the morning. My son-in-law is out there in the living room, and we are headed out of here about 7 o'clock in the morning. We are driving about 3 hours or so to Alabama. And down below Nashville, we're going right straight through Nashville, down to the border, crossed into Alabama. And there's a brother down there that has given us an RV, a Class C RV that you drive. I've already purchased some insurance. We're going down there. We're going to drive that back, and we are going to have a studio in my in a better location here. We're going to have a studio, and it won't take long to get that ready. And so, anyway, thank you everyone that's prayed about that. And if you were getting ready to write a check to help us with that, go ahead and write that check, and we'll use it. I promise you, we'll use it for supplies and getting it ready and all that kind of stuff. So appreciate everybody out there. Dyersburg, Tennessee's watching. Marita and Chip Martin. Okay, I don't recognize you folks. Are you new to our channel here? If so, welcome. And sometimes people watch, but they don't comment, and they look like they're new. So I don't know if they're new or not. They could be. Okay, I hope that everybody can see okay. I hope this thing's not buffering. I think hopefully everything is okay for everybody. Hopefully everything's fine. And okay, and I got a paper up there. Want to move? There we go. All right, so we're going to talk tonight about this subject. Is America under attack? I have believed and said this for more than a year now, maybe a year and a half. I don't know, maybe 2 years. I have said there's something fishy going on. The food processing plants. Google it. Google it. There's a whole list of food processing plants that have mysteriously had fires and are completely destroyed. You ever hear of such thing ever in your life? You don't suppose that there's some bad guys in our country that are attacking us, do you? Duh. Of course there are. There's bad guys everywhere. My goodness, there's how many people have come across our border? We don't really know for sure. It's suspected that there's 10 or 12 million since Biden, with Obama behind him, took over. Who are these people? Are they friendly to us? Are they people who want to do us harm? There's no way to know. But one thing we do know, there are a lot of people coming across our border who are bad cats, bad people. And they're here to ravage and take and harm and get all they can, and maybe destroy something here. And Warren wants us to drive a little. Warren, you're in Mexico, aren't you? Are you in Mexico? I think you're still in Mexico, aren't you? I wish I could drive 3 more hours. I don't think you're there, though. I think you and your family are in Mexico, right? another 3 hours, he thinks that we could be at his area. And talk to your preacher, have him bring us down there to do some prophecy. I'll come down there and preach. And oh, all right, you just landed. You're back in the States. You just landed, but so you're not home yet. But maybe you will be tomorrow. I don't know. And all right, is Dr. Gary Dice on? Dr. Gary Dice, pray for him. He's waiting on a heart. He is actually in the hospital now. He cannot leave the hospital. He's on a external pump. There's a pump that's circulating his blood. His heart can he can no longer live with his heart, and he is at the hospital, and he is awaiting the word that a heart is available, and they will put him in, and he will get a new heart. And that's just the beginning of the battle. So I think he may be on Facebook. I'm not sure. This is YouTube over here. Over there is Facebook Live. We're doing both at the same time. And all right, so Esther says, I got your book. I don't know which book that you got, but I'm glad you got it. I'm not sure what you ordered and what I sent you, but oh, I think I sent you a free book, didn't I, Esther? I think I sent you Redemption Through the Ages. Is that what I sent you? I hope you'll read it. I hope you'll think about it, meditate on it, and it'll be a help to you. Okay, America under attack. Food processing plants. China and Bill Gates and others buying up farmlands. Farms closing down. I read a report. I forget how many they said. Scores and scores of farms are shutting down, being bought out or being shut down. What in the world is going on? The destruction of America is what's going on. And I'll say something about that in just a minute, but let me go a little further here. It's not just that. It's not just the food processing plants. The biggest fire in the history of America took place just a few weeks ago in Texas. Ain't that right? Where's my Texas brother? He's usually here. I don't know if he's here yet, but Texas had a huge, I mean, thousands and thousands of acres burned. And is it possible that there's something or somebody behind that? Was it just an accident? Was it just we don't know. The train derailments. Have you ever heard of so many train derailments in your life? How come when there's a train derailment, how come they don't do some? How come they just automatically think it's an accident? How come nobody's investigating this stuff? Because the Biden department, the Obama crowd, the liberal wacko Democrat Party people are involved. They're running everything, and they're the ones who decide what gets investigated. Then we have overnight, just the other day, the ship hitting the bridge in Baltimore. Destruction. Everyone watching tonight, I'm sure that you saw the video of that, right? Everyone saw the video. We don't have to play that for you. Of the ship. Twice the lights went out, came back on. Remember that? And then there's the story, and I haven't pieced it all together yet. Others have, but how long, after the ship radioed a mayday? How long was that mayday before it hit the bridge? I'm not sure. Somebody out there maybe knows. But you're hearing all kinds of different stories, like the people on the bridge, the construction workers. They heard the mayday. Now I don't know what that means. Gary is saying 4 minutes. 4 minutes after the mayday. So you got to be asking yourself a question here. Forget the steering for now. They're saying they lost the steering. I doubt that very highly. But let's say they did. 4 minutes. Now I was a sailor. We had two great big anchors on our ship, and I'm sure this one had some too. Why didn't they drop the anchors? Why didn't they drop the anchors and stop the ship? This thing did some erratic things. And you telling me in 4 minutes the men on the bridge knew immediately what to do and ran to both ends and stopped the traffic in 4 minutes? I mean, I don't know. There's just, and then there's this. This happened early in the morning now, and then within a few hours at daybreak, when the news people came out to tell us all about this, what did the Biden administration immediately? What did everybody come out with? The first thing they said was what? This was not terrorism. Well, wait just a minute here. First of all, I don't know that it was terrorism. I have high suspicions. But I want to say this. How do you know? They hadn't seen the black box yet, by the way. That was hours later. The black box, they don't have it yet. How did they know already to come on live television and tell the world, tell America, this was not terrorism? We know that. We don't know what happened, but we know it wasn't terrorism. Is that right? That's a red flag right there. What's the big hurry to run out there to the cameras and tell the world this is a terrible tragedy, but it was not terrorism? How in the world do you know? You haven't even investigated yet. The truth is, we'll probably never know till we get to heaven what happened here. By the way, as most of you know, this is plastered all the news. This is the bridge named after the author of the Star Spangled Banner, as he sat on a ship right there in that spot and wrote the words to the Star Spangled Banner. And this bridge is named after that. And this bridge is gone. And by the way, why is it that easy to take out a bridge? I mean, a ship just hits one piling and the whole bridge comes down. There's not some safety here. There's not some special cement walls under there in case a ship should hit something to keep it from. I mean, you got to be kidding me. And then where's the tugboats? Now I don't know for sure what policy is, but I was in the Navy. We would come down the Chesapeake Bay often, and we would go over them Chesapeake Bay Bridge tunnels. They were underwater. We'd go over them on the ship, and but once we got to a certain place, and I don't know where that place was, but the tugboats showed up. And you have what's called pilots. Anybody, you all know what that? A pilot is an engineer, a guy who pilots the ship. See, they don't let the skipper do it. They have a professional who that's all he does. He gets on your ship and he directs that ship into the dock or wherever you're going, your anchorage, whatever. Or if you're going out, he gets you out into the open sea or into the channel where there's no more danger, gets on the tugboat or whatever, and they take him back. He gets on the next ship. That's what a pilot is. That's all they do. They're full time. There were two pilots, they said, on this ship. I don't think it's not an airline pilot they're talking about. A pilot is a guy who gets on the ship and he takes over for the captain and he runs the controls, tells the men all ahead third, 2 degrees to starboard. That's what he knows the channel. He knows where every rock is. He knows the danger points. So what in the world happened here? Did you see the video of the ship? They would speed it up, and it's like it turned on its own, turned right towards the thing, and the whole bridge come down. Shocking. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. Now I can't prove anything, but something doesn't add up here. Would you agree? Something doesn't add up. I think here's what we better realize: food processing plants, dozens of them, maybe hundreds. Railroad accidents, strange stuff. Nobody investigating. Fires, wildfire, big fires. The one in Hawaii. Anybody know anything about that? Is anything strange about that fire in Hawaii? You better believe there is. And they won't let you in there to look at it either, I might add. Who was the pilot? Joe Biden. uh, they won't let anybody in there. But the people that did see in there said they've never seen anything like it. I'm talking about in Maui there, the fire in Hawaii. Maui, right? Isn't that where it was? And just strange. Some people say the government wants that piece of property. for some sort of military thing, and that's how they got it. I mean, I don't know. There's just too many things to all just be. You can say, well, this, you don't know, and this you don't know. After a while, there's so many of these. Well, after a while, don't you have to finally say, hold on now, wait a minute, this this can't all be just coincidence. There's something going on here. We got a corrupt, evil, lying government, and if you don't believe that, you're blind. You're blind. You're asleep. I wouldn't trust this government. I hate to say it. I'm not a Putin fan up in Russia. I'm against communism. But let me tell you, it's a sad day when you think you can trust what Mr. Putin says more than what you trust that our government says. I know our government's lying to us. Mr. Putin, I don't know. So I give him a little more credit. Isn't that sad? Isn't that sad? That wasn't that way decades ago, but our country has gone corrupt, so corrupt. And I'm telling you, I think we're under attack. I don't know if it's the people coming off the border. I don't know if it's our government. Maybe both. I don't know. Something isn't right here. Now, let's end this with some thoughts. What could all this mean? I'll tell you what it could mean. We're at the end of the time. We're at the end of things. What do I say all the time? Here we are at the end of all things. And we are. If that's true, and I believe it is, some things have got to happen, and they got to happen pretty rapidly. Because what is coming shortly after the rapture? Global governance. A global person who is appointed to be over the world. And eventually down the road, global financial system, right there at the middle of the tribulation, very possibly 2030, by the way. And I think Biden said that when he gave his stupid little speech that he rode the train across that bridge for years, and everyone's saying there is no train across that bridge. We got a senile old man there. And so if we are at the end of this thing, and we are, and I'm not saying it's going to end tonight or next week or next month, it could, but I'm saying we're in the final minutes of the clock. It could be months, it could be a year, it could be a couple years, it could be a week. All right. Regardless, if that's true, and I believe it is, things have got to happen in America. America has to be taken out. Now, let me tell you what I mean by that. I don't mean America is not in the Bible and America doesn't exist after the rapture. I don't mean that. And I don't believe that. Those of you that have been following me a long time, you know that Dan Goodwin believes. I don't know this, but I believe it. I'm pretty sure about this. It is my guess, my hypothesis, that America fits the description of Revelation chapter 18. I challenge you to read that after I get off the air here. Open up your Bible to Revelation 18 and read about Babylon there. Read about what they say, alas, alas, that great city, that great the smoke is rising and they're weeping. The merchants of the world are weeping. Now that's not Babylon in Iraq. I promise you it's not them. Maybe 50 years from now it could be them. It's not them. Nobody would cry if Babylon fell off the face of the earth. But when America goes under, America made the merchants of the world rich. If you don't understand what I'm talking about there, you don't know your history. America is the milk cow of the world. We're giving money to countries and peoples all over the world, and people are doing business with us and getting very wealthy. That's why when the smoke arises, they weep over it because they've lost that milk cow, that financial funnel that was giving them the great lifestyle that they have. Now let me say this so you understand what I mean. When I say America gets taken out, I don't mean America ceases to exist. I'm talking about America outside what we call the Beltway. You see the corruption and the head of this thing, the head of the snake, is inside the belt, what we call the beltway, inside the highway, the loop, whatever it is, 495, whatever it is. I've been on it. Inside there, that's where a lot of the wealth is there. All the rich politicians and the people who go and they beg the government for favors and all the stuff that gets channeled through Washington D.C. and all the people who work for senators and they all live there, and they're all living very well, and they're all very wealthy, and the whole world is run by that little stretch of property inside the beltway. They claim, people that know them, people that deal with Washington D.C. will tell you it's a corrupt, vile place. When you go inside there, you're in a different country. It feels like, and we see our little clips on TV about Congress and congressmen and hearings that they have, but you don't realize what they live in there. They live inside a whole different world inside the beltway, and it's got to be dismantled. It's not going to be. I don't believe. I doubt seriously that even Trump can do it. He can give us more time, and he can give us some breath. But there's only so much that a president can do. We need people across our country to get right with God and get revived and start voting right again. And some of us, some of God's people, go into Congress and into the Senate and save our nation. I don't see it happening. I'm just saying that's what's needed. In a nutshell, what I'm saying is this: the one world system is hanging by a thread. It's right on the verge of being enacted in the world. There is something standing in the way of that system. It's us. It's God's people. It's conservative, right wing, mostly Christian people. They're not all Christian people, but they're standing in the way of this system that Satan is trying to enact, the one world government, the one world order. It's in the Word of God. It's there, and it's going to be in place either at or after the rapture. If the rapture is that close, this thing has to be ready so that when we're taken out of here, it all falls into place very rapidly. And I believe it will. I believe I've got some scenarios I've shared with you of how I think it all happens, the domino effect. And the Ezekiel 38 war, right at the beginning of it, and somebody saves Israel, and the rapture happens right there, and the whole world's in turmoil, and a crown is placed on somebody's head because he's the hero and he's saved Israel and maybe saved the world, and that's Revelation 6. For that to be ready, there's some things yet that have to happen. You see, when I talk about the destruction of America, I'm not talking about inside the Beltway. I have a feeling those people are going to be fine. Remember they put the fence. Remember they put the barbed wire and they fenced off the Capitol after the January 6th happened. Remember that? Remember they had the inauguration. It was almost nobody there. Bernie Sanders was there in his famous, sitting there, and they plastered that all over the internet. Man, there was nobody there. It was fenced off. That's not a free election. That's not a free country. And I joke about it now. I say we should have all went to Washington. We should have surrounded that fence, and we should have locked them in there. And we should have made one gate to get out, and one at a time we'll let them come out. We'll check their credentials, and the good guys we'll let out. The bad guys, leave them in there. Let them starve, arrest them, whatever. But of course, that's not what's going to happen. We're at the end of this thing. Bad stuff's coming. Things are happening. They're going to take down the economy. They're going to take down the system. They cannot allow Donald Trump back in the White House. They will not allow it. Now, can it be stopped? If God intercedes, we could get him. But there's no way we're going to get a fair election. They're going to cheat. They're going to cheat as much as they can. Who's going to stop them? They own the entire justice system. Who's going to stop? I said this 3 years ago, and some of you remember me saying it. I said if Donald Trump gets on that plane and leaves Washington, it's over. Because how do you fight the system? How do you investigate it when you leave the new president who's unduly elected, who's the fraud, takes over, gets his own attorney general in it, which he did, a wicked, vile human being, a liar and a crook, and the whole Justice Department. Who's going to investigate the deal? It's been 3 years. Stuff's just now, we're hearing more all the time, but who's going to prosecute? Nobody. We're at the end of this thing. We're at the end of this thing. They're going to take us down, and they don't care about you. They don't care. I mean, leaders of the world have been killing their people for centuries. In China, they killed millions of their own people. They don't care about people. You think the people in Washington care about you? They just voted some more trillions of dollars in taxes for you. They're sending boatloads of money to Ukraine while people here are starving. They don't care about you. The systems is preparing to break. We're under attack. Why do you think those 10 million or 12, however many, why do you think these illegal aliens are being brought in? They're new voters for the bad guys. They're disruptors and they're economic breakers, and there's nothing good that can come of this. They're murdering people. They don't have our values. They don't have our morals. Most Americans don't have many morals anymore, let alone these people that are coming in from these godless nations. Young men, I've seen videos of young military age young men with cell phones. Yeah, where'd they get all this stuff? These are not your poor and your needy people. These are select people coming in. And I applaud some of the states that are fighting that now, like Texas, but it's a little late. Where was you about 3 years ago when we needed to stop it then? It's a little late now. They pretty much got us invaded. Now shut the door now. Well, that's not the greatest accomplishment in the world. We needed to shut that door 3 years ago, and I believe that they could have. I believe the state of Texas had the right to close its border and defend it, but we'll see. So America sure seems to be under attack from within. And some of it could be these legal people coming in. Some of it could be our own government, or a combination of both. I still got a lot of questions about 9/11. One of the biggest reasons 9/11 is fishy to me, and I've seen a lot of the video, and a lot of that bothers me too. But even without that, look what happened to America after 9/11. What did we get? We got the Department of Homeland Defense. We got stricter rules at the airports and radar, and we lost freedoms, and we gave them up. We say, oh, we need protection. We got to give up our rights for the sake of our safety. Well, isn't that what Ben Franklin warned us about? He will give up freedom for a little security will soon have neither. And that's where we are today. They're busting in doors. They busted in the doors of many of Trump's people, and Trump's door. I mean, they're just busting doors in, arresting people. There's people in jail haven't been tried with a crime. This is not the America your grandfather grew up in. America is falling, and it's falling fast. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to awaken you, trying to get you to see, get prepared as much as you can. I mean, I don't know for sure what all you can do, but you get prepared for a storm that's going to last a long time. Get prepared as you can. And, and warn your neighbors, get your family members saved, get some support groups in your community if you can. If you live in the right areas where you can get some key people involved in like if an emergency happens, you guys get together and you protect each other. Bad stuff's coming. Bad stuff. I don't think 6 months from now, I don't think you would have imagined that you'd be where you're going to be in 6 months. And all right, what we call Easter. Now, I don't believe Easter is the biblical word there, but what we call Easter, we celebrate the resurrection this Sunday. 3 weeks later, we'll celebrate the death of Christ on Passover. Why? Why are we celebrating the resurrection and then 3 weeks later, the death of Christ, Passover? Well, it's in my barley harvest book that I wrote in 2016 for that very reason. I explained why the calendars are off and why about every 3 years Easter comes before Passover. And it's a thing called leap year in Israel. They don't just add one day like we do. They add an entire month to the Jewish calendar. It's called Adar 2. Adar is the month right before Passover month. We call it Nisan. The Bible really calls it Abib, A-B-I-B, Abib. And so it's the reset to the calendar. And in Bible days, it was the barley harvest that caused that reset about every 3 years. Now it's done in the wrong way. They do it computerized and have for centuries. But that's why this happens. And that's why you really can't trust either calendar. Don't put a lot of your faith in the Jewish calendar or our calendar. And okay. And I hope you'll enjoy your Resurrection Sunday. I hope it is a day when a lot of people will attend church. It's a chance to preach the Word of God and get people to understand the truth and get people saved. And I believe we ought to use that. I believe we ought to use every bit of that. Christmas and Easter are two of the biggest church attending days in the world, and I believe we ought to take advantage of that. And you got a captive audience. You got people who are going to come just because it's Easter, and I believe you ought to preach the Word of God and do your best to get them under conviction and get them saved. All right. Um, so that's my story tonight. That's the show. Hope I've been some encouragement to you. Listen, there's nothing to be sad about. If we're in the end time, we know that stuff's got to come. And trust in God, stay in the book, get your loved ones saved, get everybody saved that you can. We're on the tail end of this mess. And somebody has to be. It's us. We are the generation that are going to live, I believe, to see the rapture. And I believe it's coming soon. And I still personally believe it'll be a fall event, but you can't be dogmatic even about that. You just never know. He could come tonight, shock us all, right? And I'm okay with that. But until he comes, let's keep busy for him. And of course, let's keep our eyes on them skies.